Hello everybody, welcome to yet another episode of the Skeshbook podcast, and today we're going to talk about a little question that I got from Natasha de Ole. Ole? Yeah, Ole. Hopefully I'm not murdering your name, but the idea is she wants to start drawing and she wants to draw things from her imagination and not draw things from, life. How do you do that? So just want to sort of share some of my thoughts on that stuff. So let's get into it, shall we? Alright, so here's a message that I got on Instagram. So here's what it reads. Hi Kesh, good evening. Good evening. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? Really like your work. Thank you. Are you okay? And your 100 days lessons got me excited to learn how to draw and help me push my passion to the next level. And you make it sound and look so easy. I know, right? I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. God, I'm so inside my head today. All right, anyways, here's the question. I'm keen on enrolling myself for the 100-day drawing camp lessons. Being a beginner, I wanted to ask you, which level would you recommend that I should begin with? I'm interested in drawing not by replicating something that I see. That's easy. Good. But I want to draw using my own imagination. My aim is to launch personalized planners in the near future. I personally feel as a beginner going digital is too early for me, like working on a tablet. I need to get my basics right first. So what would you recommend me at this point? Okay, so I've got a lot of things I want to sort of talk to you today about things. The dog is barking, by the way, in the background. If we have good AI tools, we'd probably remove that. If you're hearing that, then yeah, you know what, let's keep that. All right, so one, you're saying that you're a beginner artist and you wanted to start drawing things that you don't want to replicate things, but you want to start drawing things that you sort of, see in your imagination. So a couple of ways to approach that, right? Not a couple of ways. Actually, I'd recommend a very good and an optimal way. Here's what I do. Here's what I do at drawing camp. Here's what I recommend everyone else do, right? So you want to draw things from your imagination that exists in your head, an image of the thing that you want to draw, right? You close your eyes, you see that thing, and you put it down on paper. And when you put it down on paper, it's not good, right? It sucks. It's bad. It doesn't, exactly look like the thing that you want to draw, right? So why does it not look like the thing that you want to draw? A couple of reasons. One, your ability to imagine and visualize things in your head is not that great because you're starting out and that takes time. That is one. Not just time, but also skill. Number two, your ability to take what you actually see, even though you see, well, let's just say that you see things clearly, right? And after that, your ability, the second thing is taking that thing that you see and putting it down on paper in the technical fashion, which is involving all the technical skills of drawing. That part is not that great, or maybe it needs a lot of work, right? So there are two problems that we are sort of facing here. The good thing is if you actually work on the technical side of things, meaning understand how a drawing is made, right? How a drawing is made. It's made of shapes, forms, gesture, light, shadow, perspective, simple, basic drawing lessons. You can hear the beep sound in the back. Yeah, well, traffic, my friend. So if you learn those simple things, just focus on those simple things at first, right? Lines and shapes. You gotta get your line quality up. That is chapter 1. That is lesson 1. Number 2, you gotta get your gesture. You gotta introduce flow and force into your drawings. That is number 2. Number 3, you gotta start working on forms. You gotta evolve from shapes, which are 2D, to forms, which are 3D, right? Learn to draw boxes. Draw 100 boxes. How about we do that, right? Boxes in different perspective. So start like this. Start by drawing boxes in 1-point perspective, then 2-point perspective, then 3-point perspective. So once you start doing that, you do 100 of these things. What will happen is if you learn how to draw a box properly, you can draw any other form, which is a cylinder, a sphere, a cone, a pyramid, because everything can be sort of carved out from a box. That's why they say a box is a very important thing. But second to the box, I would say practice drawing cylinders separately. Draw 100 cylinders in perspective. Again, start with 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective. Great, do that. Super. So that is the next thing that you do. Am I in right place in terms of, say, the question that she is asking? Yeah, I think so, right? So all of these things, what I'm saying may sound really, really boring, because it is very boring, trust me. And if you do that, the results that you will get in the end will be exponential and much, much, much better if you if you had not done this thing, if that makes sense, right? So that is number one. You got to do the basics. You got to get the basics right, and also understand light and shadow. Just look at the world in terms of simple values and try to sort of do lots of light and shadow studies, right? So that is your foundations. Get those things right. And here's the thing. Even though you want to draw things from your imagination, I would highly recommend that you start drawing things not from imagination, but from life. See things that you see in life or in photographs and start drawing them. Why? Because it teaches you a lot of things. It actually helps you input some sort of raw materials in your head, which can be then processed later on to draw very unique and different things from your imagination. So you see a sofa, a couch, you see a plant that is different, you see an animal that's sitting in a weird position, or it's not an animal that you've never seen before. It's a Pokemon. All of a sudden you spot a Pokemon in the wild, in the real world. You draw that thing, right? What that will do is it will help you input raw materials in your head. That is number one. I'll tell you why you need raw materials later on. Number two, it will help you practice things like looking, right? And drawing things for what they are rather than what you think they are, because it's a very hard skill to train, right? A lot of beginners, even myself, make that mistake oftentimes. You draw something by looking at something, but you draw for not what it is, but for what you think it is, right? So if you can't draw something for what it actually is, it's really hard to draw a particular thing for what it can be, right? Which is the thing that's in your head. I mean, maybe not that hard, but I would say lay down the foundations just in case, right? It's a good place to start. It's a good place to start because why? Why should you actually draw things looking in the world? I think raw materials is one reason. It will help you accurately draw the thing that exists exactly as it is, and you can take that skill and use that to draw things from your imagination, because it will also help you clarify the thought that exists in your head and help you visualize that thing with much more precise detail. For example, I close my eyes right now, right? If I close my eyes, I can actually design a character in my head, and I'm able to see it. I'm able to sort of move it, like a 3D software, like, one of those Blender software where you move a cube in 3D or a character in 3D, you just rotate it. I'm able to do that in my head right now. I'm just looking at that thing. Okay, this is what the form is. This is how it looks in the back. This is how it looks in the front. I'm closing my eyes and I can see that thing, right? It's not that clear, but it's fairly pretty clear. I'm surprised myself, actually. How am I able to do that? But I did not have that ability, right? For a very long time, very, very long time. I only recently developed that ability. It's not a talent. It's not a thing that I was born with. It was just a thing that you constantly practice, because you are able to see the thing that you're really familiar with very clearly in your head, if you're familiar with it, right? For example, if I ask you to close your eyes and imagine your mom, you would probably be able to visualize her really well. You can see the details on her face. You can see all those things. And if you learn, say, the facial anatomy, you'll be able to see how the facial structure of your mom works. How big is your nose compared to the eye? So the entire face, the entire skull, right? You'll be able to start noticing all these little elements. right? Like, for example, if you're someone who works out, right, and if you know how body fat works on a given person, meaning how body fat is distributed on a given person, because not everybody carries body fat the same way, but men carry it in a different way, and women carry it in a different way. And if you learn to look at, and if you know how muscles work, right, you can just look at a person, right? For example, right now, it's like, I know, okay, I can look at a person and say, hey, this person is probably very muscular, has got a lot of fat on top of him, but he has got a good muscle base, meaning he has good muscle but lots of fat. I can also say that this person doesn't have a lot of fat, but has a lot of, and doesn't also have a lot of muscle definition, right? It's like, why do I know this thing? Because I like to work out, I read about these things, and I also, since I learned anatomy through drawing, I'm able to spot these things, right? I'm getting familiar with these things. So yeah, so this is what drawing from life teaches you. Number two, why do you need even raw materials? Now, creativity sort of works like this, right? Creativity is like the original, less ripped off ancestral cousin of the AI technology that we have today. I'm just kidding. Sort of, a little bit. I don't know how yeah, I don't want to get into that topic again, man. Not yet. I have more thoughts on that. I'll share that in the later podcast. But creativity works like this. A part of it is very, can be defined very easily. The part of it cannot be defined easily because it's slightly more esoteric and intuitive and almost like heavenly. But the part which you can explain is this, right? A lot of the original characters, drawings, and things that you see are actually an amalgamation of different elements from life. For example, right? I'll tell you. Let's speak in terms of, say, a story. Have you seen the movie Lion King, right? Lion King is a very interesting and a unique movie. What happens there? There's this king, the lion, hence the name Lion King. But there's this king who's very just, who's very honorable, who's very reasonable. He's a man of courage. He's a man of, he's a lot of things. He's the right king. And he has a brother. He is jealous of that right king because he does not have any of those qualities and therefore resents his brother and hates him. And what does he do? Right? He sends the king's son in exile to some extent, and what does he do? He kills him. He kills Simba. No, not Simba. Simba's father, Mufasa. Right? James Earl Jones, I think he was the one. James Earl Jones, yeah, yeah. I think the one who voiced Darth Vader, he also voiced, Mufasa. Very, very courageous voice, right? That he has, deep voice. So, anyways, he does that, and that entire story happens in the animal kingdom. Right? The lions are there, this is that is that, and there's a lot of twist in the story. There's love interest of Simba, love interest of Mufasa. There's a lot of things happening over there. Where does the original inspiration of that story come from? Well, apparently, there are very similar stories that arise from like biblical stories, like from Cain and Abel. It's a very similar story, right? It's like a good brother, and then the other brother resents the brother, so therefore he kills the good one, right? To take his throne or something. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure of that thing. Maybe some of you can tell me what the actual full story of Cain and Abel is, but I know sort of the whole plot outline, right? It's very similar. And if you take this Indian movie Bahubali, right? Same story. Good brother, evil brother. Evil brother cannot be like the good brother, therefore he resents him, hates him, kills him, sends his son in exile, and son comes back to take revenge and, claim the kingdom. It's like the exact same story as the Lion King. So what's the point here? All of these things are an amalgamation of different elements that has inspired that particular creator with certain core aspects in place, right? Like the story is in place. Maybe there's too simple of a thing. Star Wars, Darth Vader, right? Star Wars. No, not Darth Vader. Star Wars as a story is an amalgamation of like, am I using that word right? I'm not sure, right? It's a combination of Westerns, good old-fashioned Westerns, like that, that those kinds of westerns with samurai movies and with science fiction. That's a weird, unique combination right there. That's why Star Wars worked, right? So that's why you need raw materials. If George Lucas did not see any Western movies, did not experience any of that Western culture, or maybe see any Japanese movies, right? Something like that, right? He wouldn't have the raw material to actually come up with something very, very unique. That is why they say, for you to be an artist, it's important for you to have and go and have life experience. Do something hard. Do something worthwhile. Go try something new. Because it's very important for an artist to focus on what they're making art about rather than how they're making it. Because if your art doesn't have something to say, it doesn't matter how technically good it is, it will fall flat. Because if your experience just matches everyone else's experience, there is no reason for them to come and see or consume or experience the thing that you've created. So that is why it's important for you to go create raw material. Let's bring it down to drawing. Very simplistic. Go collect visual raw materials from life, meaning really understand how things work visually. Draw a lot from life. Draw a lot from photographs. If you do all of this, then you will be able to draw from your imagination. That is a theory. That is a theory, and it's also worked for me, and I've seen it. I've applied it to very many students of mine. It's like, yeah, it seems to be working for them too. So that is number one. Number two, once you're done with your basic foundations, basic drawing skills, here's what you need to do. You need to start focusing on learning character design principles. You say you want to create characters, you got to learn principles. Not techniques, not strategies, not tricks, principles. Principles teaches you how to think in terms of designing a particular thing. I would say learn design principles. What are key design principles? Key visual design character principles that are being used in order to create a character, right? If you learn that, you will know why certain styles exist, why certain people draw certain characters this way while the same person draws another character in a different way. All of these things will actually teach you how to think. If you learn principles, strategies will be a result of such principles. You can come up with very many strategies if you know how a principle works, right? So yeah, that's what you do. If you do all these things, I would say you would learn to draw your own characters, and that is what you need to focus on. Learn how to draw, master character design. That's all. You know what? I would go as far as to say, learn to master character design from your, drawing characters from your imagination. If you do that, you will learn how to draw environments, because it's pretty much the same. Environment is a bigger character with a bunch of different elements in it. That is one. Oh, obviously, there are some things that needs to be learned extra, but it's very easy. The transition is very easy. And then from there, you can actually, if you learn how to draw one stylized character illustration, that's all you need to create a frame. If you learn how to create a frame, you can pretty much create a comic book or tell stories or make animation movies, because that's all I learned. I've never taken a comic course in my entire life, and I can make pretty good comics, right? Or at least do good framings, good composition. Because why? I've learned how to draw one frame really well with a stylized character illustration. And I'll watch a lot of movies. I know how composition works. I practice the skill of video making a lot. Right? So since I'm able to do all these things, I'm sort of putting them together, and other skills are just I can whip out a comic, a good one, easily, very easily, right? It doesn't take much time. So it's just that I don't want to do it, because I've done a lot of small comic projects where I don't have the patience to sit and do a big one, because I just don't see the return on my fulfillment even, because I'd rather make them as a movie. But I am thinking about it a lot. Like I think comics is a much faster way to get a story out there, like in a minimum viable fashion, and then you can turn it into a short film or a movie or whatever you want. So yep, those are the things that you would do, my friend. And would I recommend drawing camp? Yes. Nobody is too good for basics. I've been drawing for God knows how long, over 2 decades right now. I am not good for basics. I'm not good enough for basics. I need to still do my boxes today. Draw my boxes. practice basic design things. Know this, advanced people do the basics. Advanced people, the really advanced people, they do the basics. Not the advanced stuff, not the fancy stuff. They do the basics. So start at the basics. And if you think you're too good for basics, I will tell you that I used to think like that too, and the world will put you down really fast because nobody is too good for basics. So yeah, hope those things help. If you learn to do all these things, learn to draw one character stylized illustration with a nice background, you can use that skill to launch your personalized calendars, planners, everything in the near future. Now, there's a problem. Keyword near future. That's what you said here. I don't know what your skill level is. If you're starting from the basics, it's not going to happen in the near future. It's going to happen in the future. Maybe depends on the time horizon. I'd say give it 1 to 3 years. Right? That's how you do it. In 100 days, you can make massive improvement. But the real results that you're looking for comes in multiple cycles of 100 days. So that's why I kept it as 100 days. Why? It's a cycle. A cycle you go through. Finish one cycle and then do another cycle. And then you do another cycle till you get good. It's multiple cycles. That's what you need to do. It's not one time. It's not like I'll learn everything and I'll be done in 100 days. Who's going to practice? You got to practice. Right? So that's the thing. Natasha De Ole. Hope this thing really helps you. I really wish to see, message me in a year's or two time with your planners and calendars. I would love to see them. And yeah, and also don't feel any sort of fear to start going digital from the start. It doesn't matter. Really, it does not matter. It's a tool. It's a tool. Simply paper or pen, tablets. It doesn't matter. Just start somewhere where you remotely, like I'd say, digital is a good skill to learn because you can produce illustrations faster. But also just keep those things in mind. That is it for this podcast, folks. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Also, check out Drawing Camp. Links down below in the description. If you want to work with me on a personal mentorship level, I'll add a form below for the Drawing Camp Mastery Program. So, which I haven't opened yet. We're still in the beta phase. But we started getting in students, but yeah, I'm going to open it really soon for a very small amount of people because I want to work with a very small group of people to get them solid, hardcore results. And form links for that down below. I'll see you guys in the next one.